Oh man, hey guys. This is something else I wasn't expecting. This is from the ESL map pool. Of course, we are talking about the Go4SC2, and what particularly caught my eye about this game is the length that it lasted, as well as the file size of the replay. But without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce both of our players. Spawning is our pink Protoss in the upper left-hand corner. By the way, the map is Ohana LE. His name appears to be Jogginghose. I'm not entirely sure of just who he is, what his legacy is, or how his performance goes as far as the latter is concerned. And in the lower right-hand position, he's a member of the Roxkis team, the very prominent Russian pro clan. They have Roxkis Fryer. They also have Roxkis Slivko, who actually won the IEM Singapore in second place. So he got the silver medal for that, not the first one. So I did kind of just word it a little poorly for you guys. But this is not Roxkis Slivko. Instead, it is RoxkisJaegon. Now we already see that Jaegon is actually opting for a normal-ish build. That is a barracks already, but this is actually an alarmingly early gas. It actually went down at about the same time as the barracks did. If we just check down here, well, it almost came up as that. Yeah, about 8 seconds behind, close enough. But I think what this is going to do is it's going to basically shaft any zealots or any stalkers, more particularly that will be coming out of this first gateway that we have coming from Jogginghose. Like a stalker, for instance, would probably come out just, I want to say maybe a minute late. So it's the goal of this Reaper is not necessarily to kill probes. Probes would be an added bonus if there is in fact a Reaper coming out. But no, we actually have a reactor. This is, I want to say, more than likely, yeah, this has got to be Wings of Liberty. If we just listen to the music, that basically signals that this is Wings of Liberty. Or not, excuse me, not Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm. This cannot be Wings of Liberty. I'm almost certain of it. But, yeah, there it is, the Mothership Core icon. So that means this is, in fact, Heart of the Swarm. I'm just a little curious. It looks like I actually called that out wrong. I was so certain we were going to see a Reaper. I mean, come on, guys, when you see gas that early. But, interesting choice. We have a reactor on that barracks, but we don't have a factory. Ah! Here it is! That clever son of a gun! He's cranking out double Reapers. Okay, so this is actually going to be, like, twice the fun. But a Stalker is not going to be able to get Reapers that are put onto two different hotkeys. I do know some players, I do know one or two players that will actually do this with harass units, more particularly Gemma SSQ. She is a pro Taiwanese Terran player that I faced off against in just a show match between the fans and the, what's the word I'm looking for, the fans and the pros. Kind of a PR thing, and it looks like the first Zealot's going to come in here and catch on to the double Reapers. Of course, the double Reapers don't get any buffs versus the Zealots, so they're just going to come up here and try to attack. And now Jogginghose is basically got the info that he needs. He sees a double supply depots and a barracks with a single reactor, but that's it. So maybe he's thinking that there's a factory behind this. Don't get me wrong, there is in fact a factory and a command center going down. And now we have two Reapers moving out on the map, trying to get control vision, making sure there's no, making sure this is basically an honest opponent he's facing off against. The first Stalker has already been finished for a while. Second Stalker is now out on the map, and it looks like the Reapers are actually forced to pull back or maybe just find a different route to go into the base. He did kind of just trick up Jogginghose a little bit, but the Mothership Core is now out, and a robotics facility seems to be the follow-up of choice for Jogginghose. Factory is about to finish up here for RoxkisJaegon. I'm just going to call him Jaegon from now on. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a Korean player. That name does fit in with Hangul pronunciation-wise. I'm not entirely sure about Russian. I mean, I did say Roxkis is basically the premier Russian clan. I'm trying to think. They've got Fryer, they've got Slivko, they've got Palmy. Palmy, we kind of cast the RSL together, but he's not my co-caster. I don't know how good his English is. It's competent when we're chit-chatting in lobbies, but it looks like we're going to have a Marine tank follow-up coming from Jaegon. And I really wish he would kind of reassert some territory with these Reapers, not necessarily fully give up on using them. After all, there is a bit of a hole in the play here for Jaegon. There are no forward cannons. There is a sentry and a mothership and a stalker over here. So I don't know, maybe, just maybe you would see a little bit of damage done with the Reapers, maybe not. Observer comes by, sees that the Reapers have the Xel'Naga Watchtower, but here's the critical part that he needs to see more than anything else. Where are the Marines in the tank? Right here. I'm just going to pretend I am right on top of them, and he doesn't see it. He's actually completely oblivious to what is coming his way right now. So what we're going to have to see from Jogginghose is absolutely meticulously careful use of his mothership core. Here we go. The main force is kind of just... oh, this is actually quite deviant. He's going to use the Reapers for vision, I think. No, he's looking like he's just ready to throw them away. Looks like Time Warp was not the tech of choice for him to use. We do have the Marines kind of just doing a toe-to-toe dance with the Nexus here while it's in Photon Overcharge mode. It's pretty beefy, so it might be just fine. And now the Zealots and the Stalkers are coming out to help deal with that tank. The tank has been dealt with, and I wonder if he got any probe kills out of this. There are 5 altogether for Jaegon, yes. And if we just check the lead that he has, it's not all that great, but it certainly was quite the strong opener. Something new, something original that I have not yet seen in a TVP matchup. So, yeah, just kind of give it up just a teeny bit for Jaegon. Of course, the natural has been good to go for a while, but where exactly is he going to put the mules down? There we go. That's what's going to make the difference with the income. It's actually going to boost his mineral income. And yes-ish, no-ish. He's borderline surpassing that of Jogginghose right now. Behind this, we see an armory going down quite early, and it looks like a mech play follow-up. 2 factories going down, just finishing up, excuse me, and we have a Twilight Council coming from Jogginghose. I'm trying to think just what good will that do versus what we have coming from Jaegon. He's going reactor, so that means he's going to be able to crank out a lot of Hellbats, a lot of Widow Mines. Zealots, for the most part, may be useless against this, but speaking of, we do have Charge being researched right now. Marines just bullying some unbuildable rocks that are minding their own business. And so far we got the makings of a fairly standard macro game. Jaegon, just one small flaw from him. He's got 2 more workers on his natural than he needs. This is perhaps signaling that he has plans to build an orbital command soon, especially with the rocks getting cleared away. And we have Toss moving out. If we check the army supplies right now, I want to say that he's a little bold for doing this. Oh, but we do have a Dark Shrine follow-up. I'm sorry. Just as I was clicking on that, the 3rd Nexus went down. And, you know, I just don't think there's not enough DPS and especially AoE to really deal with what we are going to see up here from RoxkisJaegon. So we basically have Jogginghose backing off. I'm a little curious as to just whether or not Jaegon has vision of this. Like, how does he... Well, defensive siege is defensive. There we go. Let's just leave it at that. Ah, yes, there we go. It was that little glowing camouflaged thingamajig that was floating around here that signaled that perhaps, just perhaps, he should go into siege mode. And the reason why he did that was because it made him look defensive. It made Protoss back off successfully. He's like, okay, great, he's got vision on my tanks. If he sees that they're in siege, he's definitely going to attack in this direction. And so that's basically the whole reason why he activated siege. Now, something I want you guys to bear in mind is that I have less than 10 wins on the ladder as a Terran or a Protoss player, even in Wings of Liberty. I haven't really done a lot of off-racing. My main is Zerg. But one thing that I like about the matchup that we're about to watch right here is, especially, aside from this really nice-ish looking engagement, aside from the DTs going into the mix, here we go. Oh, the tanks are sieged up. Sorry about that. But it looks like now most of the force of Jogginghose is alive, but right now he's got to deal with a Terran that is now 20 supply above his own. Looks like he sent a DT over here. It didn't get any kills because there's no orbital command there just yet. And that is a lot of Hellbats. So we're not going to be able to see, we're not going to see any Zealots that are capable of tangling with that just yet. And right now Jogginghose is actually in a bit of trouble. He's got nothing in production. He looks like he may just be microing these DTs. They're having trouble, you know, they're just not effective enough versus Hellbats. That seems to be the main problem. He's getting a few worker kills in all of this. But unfortunately, the scan goes down, and that shuts down the attack on the natural that he made with 1 DT. And it looks like, is there a second DT? No, there is not. This third is going to fall without contest. A lot of probes were just absolutely desolated, and all of that. Not that probes ever had a life to begin with. I think they're just I gotta look more into StarCraft 2 lore. That would be interesting to look up on. Slight misclick gets Jaegon to target one of his own Marines. Now, what is important here to note is that with the compositions we see from both sides, you know, right now I think the biggest thing is income on 2 base, and of course production. Right now, I think we see basically Jogginghose is making the worst thing he could, but he's actually setting up for a very good flanking maneuver. Trying to get a surround on his opponent, but these rocks are not smashed, which is actually going to work against him. And now Terran, oh my god, Terran has free reign into the natural of Jogginghose, but it's okay. He's got some DTs here that are going to try and clean up some of these fire bats, excuse me, some of these hell bats. And it looks like they may just do so successfully before they finally shut down. Meanwhile, the main forces going toe-to-toe with each other. And all the Marines were out of position, clearing the way for the Immortals to go in and clean that up. But right now we see a great probe massacre at the natural. Pylon falls, unpowering the Nexus. That was a joke, guys. That was a joke. Yeah. Next side, do not get unpowered. But there's still a lot of fire bats in the composition here. If you guys would just take notice of the composition presently, we see a lack of anti-air here from Jaegon, so I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, it would be an okay idea to get some, maybe some oracles, just maybe some oracles to deal with the Marines and the Hellbats on the ground. One thing you must remember is that Hellbats are actually light units. I'm not entirely sure how quickly an oracle can kill them, but it takes like 3 or 4 banelings to do it, and they get buffs against light units. Here we go, the huge engagement coming down, and we have Jogginghose just backing off for the time being. Well, meanwhile, there's a lot more harassment going to the main, and that's actually going to buy Jogginghose a lot of time. And he's got to take... it doesn't work out. I was about to say he's got to take down the turret, but he didn't target it down. And even if he did, the SCVs could have gotten a surround on it for a repair. Speaking of SCVs, there's a few idle ones here, and the Observer goes in and spots that. No real tech up yet from Jogginghose. We just have him tacking on Immortals and possibly more and more Zealots. That is a lot of Immortals right here. I think versus this number of Hellbats, though, they will be just fine. They only do a maximum of 10 damage, and unless the Hellbats get a full and total surround on the Immortals, they will be just fine. But I think, you know, Hellbats going up against Immortals should be something like a, I don't know, maybe something like a cripple fight, or a midget fight more appropriately, or something like that. You know, just not able to fully reach out and do as much damage as possible. You know, five Hellbats versus 5 Immortals, I'm pretty sure the Immortals win, unless maybe the Hellbats are being complemented by Medivacs. Of course, we do have the Archon coming into the mix as well. We'll definitely get some area of effect DPS in. But of course, it's also the tanks in back here that will make all the difference. So this is a little interesting to look at right here. What is this? Possible misclick? No, he's just moving out there to make sure there was no 4th. And we have Protoss weapons +2 underway, and Hellbats are just increasing in numbers. We have 2 tanks being cranked out at a time, and this is an absolutely tiny Protoss force trying to tango with this Terran terrorist by the name of RoxkisJaegon. Right now, I think this is basically, you know, this game is just leaning so much in favor of Jaegon. But at the same time, I want to say we're just waiting for that tech up, and there it is. I'm sorry, I did miss the robotics bay going down, but now we have 2 Colossi at a time being cranked out. How's Extended Thermal Lance? It has not even started researching. This is like a huge slip up from where Protoss should be. And I'm thinking the area of effect damage in combination with the Immortals tanking at the front lines, you know, we're going to see compositions that we are not going to classically see in Wings of Liberty. There's not enough, you know, there's no sentries out here. There's going to be a lot of Zealots. The Zealots will, of course, melt relatively quickly like crayons in the sun, if not a multitude faster because of these Hellbats. And it looks like Jaegon's getting into siege position, and behind this we have a Ghost Academy going down. I'm wondering if this is for nuclear, you know, this could be for nuclear launches as much as it could be for, I'm trying to think, EMPs. Honestly, with that many Archons getting into the mix, EMPs would definitely be a game changer. And behind this we have Terran weapons level 3. That means tanks are going to be able to do a lot of damage. Oh yeah, versus armored, that's bound to jump up to about 65. So that's going to affect the Immortals if their shields ever get taken off, as well as the Colossi quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Quite massively. And the Immortals are under fire right now, but the tanks are not doing too much damage to them. There's just a great wall of Hellbats walking around here. You know, it's a moving wall that can do damage. And there we go. It's only some slight AoE, but it kind of stacks up, I guess, if you can get the right shots lined up. And now we have some DTs going in here, killing one tank. What about another one here? These tanks are actually getting shots off on the main army of Jogginghose. And this is what's, you know, we have to see him be opting to actually move his entire army into this. There's another DT in the mix. Full surround by the Hellbats, but of course Jogginghose, of course, making a mistake. And the Firebats, the Hellbats just walking straight into that mineral line. They're getting completely decimated. If there are any Immortals left over in this composition and they move forward, we will see these tanks falling. And it looks like there are plenty left over, and they are actually clicking down the tanks. The tank line of Jaegon is getting absolutely obliterated. And now we see Jogginghose with the perfect opportunity to push back. But he's not. He's not. What's this all about? I don't get this. Once you absolutely annihilate your opponent like that, you should always push back and try to see if you can do any economic damage. Be it just a handful of workers at the third, or maybe even sniping an orbital command or a hatchery or a nexus. That is the one thing you must always try to do. And speaking of buildings, you know, it looks like we have a new definitive tech up coming in. That would be the Stargate play. Immediately what we could see coming out is, of course, oracles. I don't think we'll see that. Always a possibility. We could see phoenixes and void rays, but of course the question is just what good are they going to do at this stage of the game. They can lift up tanks, but of course Immortals don't shoot up, and there's actually relatively little in the way of ground to air here except for a few Archons. One Stalker here, no, two Stalkers here, both of them red health. And to anyone who thinks it may be a detriment for me to keep health bars turned off by default unless I'm selecting units, all I'm trying to do is create a more cinematic experience. Terran vehicle and ship weapons being turned on, being researched. Infernal pre-igniter in research as well for RoxkisJaegon. And two SCVs try and poke out and see what's up, I guess. Maybe it was a misclick. But it looks like now we have Jogginghose getting into a more confident position, trying to find a path to do some damage. Zealot kind of getting pulled back there. I'm not entirely sure as to the point of that. It's only 100 minerals being thrown away, and 100 minerals in the late game, unless both players are on low econ situations, it really doesn't make that large of a difference. Besides that, there's no medevacs over here to repair that. I'm wondering, could medevacs be integrated with a kind of mech play? I mean, Hellbats do get healed by medevacs, in case you guys didn't already know. Orbital command being set down already by Jaegon, and there it is. Ooh, DT is actually going in here to get some kills, but he only gets away with one. He's going to try and chase down some more SCVs, and it looks like he may just do so successfully, but he's just gonna stay here landing just fine. And meanwhile, we actually have had a significant period of time for Jogginghose, where his own fourth has gotten up and running. One SCV still alive with red HP. It looks like Jogginghose is going to chase it down with his DT without thinking. And now we have Tempest coming into the mix as well. How many out now on the map? 2. They did just get finished up, and we're going to have to see Chrono Boost on these, and that is exactly what we see. Another Stargate being thrown down as well. That's really going to tack onto the DPS. And, you know, they're like siege tanks in the sky, but of course, I believe Jaegon is not oblivious to this. He's come to expect it with this much experience in Heart of the Swarm, even if it is just on the ladder. And this is nothing but a bunch of tanks and what's the word I'm looking for? Hellbats. That's significant. That's relatively speaking not a lot of anti-air. So what we could theoretically see is in one sense of bronze level metagaming is just go ahead and target down the Vikings and then use the Tempest to deal with everything on the ground. But I don't think that would be very feasible because of the slow firing rate of Tempests, and they actually don't do a lot of damage to each ground unit. But hold on, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like we have RoxkisJaegon pushing back and looking for position to engage. I want to say that Phoenixes might have been an okay choice here, maybe not, but actually Void Rays would have been even more powerful as they do get a buff versus armored units, which Vikings are. And now we have Jaegon just waltzing in to the natural as he pleases. His tanks got out of position. That would have been the perfect angle to engage at for Jogginghose, and he just, oh, this is beautiful. He's actually using DTs to deal with the tanks. Respectable choice, and the Tempests are going to town on them as well. Ghost getting sniped, ironically, by the Tempests, and a couple of those tanks do fall to DTs and some Tempest fire. Meanwhile, the Hellbats are just opting to surround that as best they can, trying to defend it as much as possible. And now we see Stalkers coming into the mix. Jogginghose realizing that he needs to take down these Vikings, and he's about to do it, and then he'll have all the power in the world to push down this tank line. There it is, the Tempest moving forward, but the natural nexus does fall. The tanks are going to die one by one, slowly but surely. The gas income at the natural for Jogginghose is going to be completely sapped. I don't think it is that much damage, but there we go. The last ghost does fall. And now we have Jaegon in a bit of a retreating position, but with superior supply. The Tempest, or excuse me, the Colossi need to come in here and really intercept everything that's here. And the tanks siege up out of position. One Immortal will fall in this, two actually. And now we have basically Jaegon trying to do as much damage as possible. His production able to elevate above that of Jogginghose because of his gas income. We can see the difference right here is actually, what the hell am I looking at? This is a mistake by me. Remaxing on whatever he can. Thors are now coming into the mix to deal with the Tempests. And now we see, I want to say Jogginghose is actually in quite the reluctant spot. He's actually maxing out on Tempest. It looks like he has the ability, oh my, did I read that right? There's only 3 Stargates? He has the ability to make 3 at a time, but, you know, making too many Tempests at a time can actually be quite dangerous because they do not have the firing rate that Vikings or Thors do. But at the same time, the Thor count and the Viking count is relatively low. And it looks like we have Jaegon not quite trying to throw away supply. That might have been just a scouting expedition, if you will, to figure out what's up over there. And this refinery will fall, sapping the gas income of Jaegon. The orbital command is forced to lift up. And Jaegon pulling all his SCVs and trying to put them on his third. There's only gas here, so this is actually quite critical. He actually has no mineral income. So if we can see Jogginghose destroy this army, he wins the game. There's no way he can make anything else after this. But speaking of, it looks like we got a bit of a harassment run by these zealots on the ground. They see that he's mined dry on the natural and, of course, obviously the main. He's not entirely sure about the third, but if he can just think for a minute, he will no longer be oblivious to this fact. He's actually on 3 base income right now, possibly opting to max out, and now we have RoxkisJaegon in a position where he's probably going to be forced to engage if he doesn't keep this base up and secure. That was the perfect window of opportunity for Jogginghose to really push back in and do some damage, but I feel the unit composition here may just not be the one he's looking for. But there's not enough Thors and not enough Vikings to deal with all of these. The Vikings, of course, do kind of outrun the Thors just a little bit. The Stalkers kind of hanging back, taking down the Thors, or excuse me, the Vikings one at a time. Tempests turn back and unleash a huge volley of fire on those Vikings, and we just have 1 Viking in production right now. The income is just absolutely sapped because there's a DT making all the harassment it can at these expos, really keeping the mineral income just at absolute 0. And we have to see Jogginghose push back now. He's got to be thinking to himself, wait a minute, my opponent has no income. Now's the perfect time to attack. And Jogginghose says, sick. With a smiley face. I'm not sure if he's getting a big head or if he's just thinking to himself, okay, well, now's the time to attack. He actually took down a significant amount of his opponent's army supply. We have Hellions dashing over here to deal with this blue flame. Actually, blue flame. Yeah, those blue flame DTs. They're super OP, guys. But there's plenty of room for Jogginghose to make error. The question is, if he continues to let his opponent just build resources like this, is he going to lose the game? It's very possible. I would not doubt it. And this is actually quite critical. The army just snuck around here to the 4th base of Jogginghose. Now, there are a bunch of burrowed Widow Mines here. If he has no detection, he could be in a lot of hot water. And, oh no. Oh no. The Tempests are kind of being pulled back one at a time. He is not oblivious to the Widow Mines. But if his entire force moves into this, it could be bad. Widow Mines unburrow. And now, all of this... just basically what's going to matter from here on out is how Jogginghose tries to approach this army, how it tries to engage this army. There's virtually no gas income right now. No refinery is being built either. So right now we see Jaegon in a bit of a critical position. If he doesn't throw down a refinery relatively soon, he's not going to be able to crank out any more Thors. The anti-air capabilities of them will be quite strong. If we just look at the Punisher cannons, they just kind of do okay damage, but they're more meant for focusing on large targets. They get no buffs versus anything else, and they're more concentrated on targeting down one unit at a time, and that was just a beautiful volley of shots that we saw from the Tempests. As long as Jogginghose is, just basically reluctant to engage this army, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He did re-expo to the lower left, but of course we do have Jaegon able to see that if the entire army goes in to attack that, it could be bad. But at the same time, we don't have anything here from Jaegon that's meant to just go in and attack in harassment style aside from these 4 Hellbats. And basically, we see Jogginghose turtling more and more. There was another, looks like harassment move by Jogginghose, and altogether he's killed 64 SCVs over the course of this game. His opponent down to 19 Harvesters, and it looks like they are all right here on gas and minerals. So if he can attack this base, which it looks like he is opting to do right now, then his opponent will be on virtually no income, and it looks like Jogginghose is now completely tripped up to what is happening. That is a lot of Widow Mines. If he engages into that, it could be bad. Oh, but this is almost the perfect opportunity for him. Hellbats actually got caught out in the open there, and it looks like they were destroyed quite optimally, and now we see the SCVs ready to attack the Nexus here. There's one cannon, and those are some beautiful storms, but the Widow Mines are chasing down the main army of Jogginghose, and they burrow! And how many shots are going to get fired off? Not a single one. But here we go, the Tempests are getting chased down by Vikings. The Thors are really the biggest threat that are left in the army for Jaegon. And is this going to work out in favor of Jaegon, or are we going to see Jogginghose basically get pushed back to infinity? It looks like the SCVs are all stuck here, and now we have we have more than enough Zealots here to handle that. And it looks like this 4th base was taken down. He didn't even pick it up. Right now, we actually have Jaegon playing on borrowed time. And this is all going to come down to the engagement, guys. We got a couple of Hero Colossi in here, but there they are, the Widow Mines. They're in such good position right now, but of course, the Observer picks up on it. And we're going to see Jogginghose lose his 4th, but now there's no way for the army of RoxkisJaegon to escape. He is forced to engage here. We see all of the main army of Jogginghose ruffle stopping Jaegon, and he calls out GG. Jogginghose, of course, not being unmannered, and that concludes this cast, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys liked what you saw, just go ahead and click on the subscribe button. It should have been glowing red this entire cast. This has been Breaker. I'll see you guys next time.